Yohman here, owner of the Basement Fitness Center, Boland, PA. Some of you guys wanted a demonstration of squat. There's many different positions and holds. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do the back squat, but there's a high bar, there's a low bar position. You could also front squat, but that's a whole other thing I'll show you guys on another day. So let's go put some mass on that ass. Some of you are probably wondering how you're going to approach the bar. And first hold I want to show you guys is the high bar position. Now depending on your mobility is how narrow you're going to grip and how wide you're going to grip. If you happen to have very tight shoulders and chest, we're going to want to grip way out, but I do recommend develop mobility in your chest because you're going to want to get in more of an upright position, elbows more downward, and I'm going to show you that here in a bit. But for right now, we're going to walk into the bar. I'm going to do middle finger on the ring, and this is your high bar position. So I'm going to have it resting right on the meat of my back, but not on my neck, okay? So as you guys see here, the bar is resting directly on my traps. It's not on my neck, but it's not a low bar position, okay? Now, when the bar is resting on your neck, I'll show you that it's actually on your neck, and you see how it pulls me forward. We don't want to do that. We want to put it on the meat of the back. Now the low bar position is just below the traps, digging into your shoulder blade, scapula, and all that. So as you guys see when I lift off, okay, it's dug in here. It's going to put me more of a hunched over position, but the bar is also going to be in a better plane with the arch of my foot. And that's another thing though too. We want that mobility in your upper body so that that bar stays on that path. That's your balance point. If the bar goes too far over the toes, you fall forward. If the bar goes too far back, over the heel, you go backwards. So that's why we want a good plane with the bar, straight up and down at the arch of the foot. And I'm going to show you guys that here. I'm going to go back to the high bar. This is what I'm comfortable with. Okay, so I take my grip. You can also wrap your thumbs too. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter how you guys do that, as long as you get the bar sitting on the meat of your back. So I got my high bar position. Next thing you want to do too, when you unrack it, you want to make sure you do it with an even stance. So you take a 1, 2 step back. You can take a third one to kind of adjust, but you don't want to take a lot of steps. So for example, okay, we'll go back to the rack. Okay, I go and I'm like out of control and I'm stepping 1, 2, 3 to 10 to set up. You're burning energy. So once again, I'll show you guys one more time. We're going to go into the bar and we're going to try to take 2 to 3 steps back. Okay, just being as efficient as possible. So I'm going to step in, set my feet up, lift off, stabilize the weight. Take 1 and 2. That's a perfect setup. 3 if you need to readjust your feet. From here, my feet are nice and flat. A little bit more weight on my heels. Okay, not all the weight. You want to think about covering as much surface area as you can with your feet. Then from here, the first thing we want to do is break hips back. You see that little movement in my hips? Then from there, the knees will go forward. What a lot of you guys want to do is break your knees first. Now look what happens. I go over the toes. But I'm going to show you guys a full range of motion squat here. If I break the hips first, then my knees shoot out. I'm down, bars in a good balanced position, press straight through the floor and straight up. You also notice my head is neutral to the spine. I'm not jamming my head back. I'm not looking down. Head's neutral, but I'm going to do another rep here. And as you see, I will look slightly down at the ground as I do my rep. So I'm going to descend controlled. Okay, I'm looking slightly down to the ground, straight up. Head's neutral. That means all my muscles are engaged, I'm natural, I'm balanced, and I'm ready to be able to squat at my maximum performance. And then to rack it, take 1 step in, second step into the hooks, and down, just like so. So as you saw with Bob there, he did have 2 labrum tears in his hip, so we're working on mobility, trying to get him back into full range of motion squat. Some of you guys out there might not have that. You're asking, how am I going to get there? Now, I like to warm up doing planks first for any one of my exercises. That's going to get all of my stabilizers in my core, in my entire body, firing. So we want those little guys firing so that I'm going to be able to stabilize the weight. Yeah, the big muscle groups are good and all, but if I can't stabilize heavy weight, that's how injury happens. You know, that's how you can tear something, get a herniated disc, or maybe even a missed weight and then cause further injury from there. Now, I like to go 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off with my planks. You don't have to do that, and I do about 5 rounds. Now from there, how do I want to get the blood flow in my hips? If you guys are familiar with the hip machines, you got your abduction and your adduction. Now, all you guys out there are like, oh, those for girls and girls only. No, it's not. You know, I and the other guys use them quite a bit. I like to do sets of 20, usually 3 sets of 20 on there. Very moderate weight, nothing crazy. Just getting the hips to open up, getting some blood flow in there, gets the mobility going. It's priming is what I'm doing. And then from there, I like to maybe hit a little bit of hamstring. I'll do hamstring curls on the exercise ball or the machine. Once again, that's getting blood flow. If I'm feeling very tight in hip flexors, you know, I'll do some lunges, just lunging in place, making sure I'm going straight down with the knee, and I'll even demonstrate that here. So obviously when I go to lunge, I don't want to push forward with my knee, I want to drop straight down with my back knee and push through the floor. So this is going to make sure that I'm in good position, hips are where they should be. If my hips are really tight, I'm going to go forward. We don't want to go forward, okay? Now the next thing, if your chest is very tight, you're having a hard time getting under the bar. Now this is for you low bar squatters especially. You need way more shoulder, way more chest mobility to get that bar set up. I like to get a band here, okay? So depending on how tight you are, how strong you are, you don't want to grip both ends. You know, both ends is like this. Now, if you need to get a smaller band, get a smaller band, or you can just grip the little part. But for now, I usually grip both, okay? And I'll grip real wide here, and as you get better, you grip a little bit closer so you get more tension. And I do rollovers, okay? So I start here, and then as I pull over, I'll just round it over, just like so, nice and slow, okay? Just like that. I'm getting some mobility in my shoulders, they're loosening up, and then I'll do band pull aparts, okay? So I'll grip a little bit closer here, and I like to pull it to my chest, arms nice and straight, come back nice and slow. I usually do 20 of those, and then overhead down to the traps and up, just like so. Usually 20 of those for a couple of sets, and that works on my shoulder mobility. I feel a lot looser, and I get a much better position. Because once again, we want to try to grip a little bit narrower on the bar. Now, not super narrow where it's like shoulder width apart, you know, just outside the shoulders, like usually bench grip, where you got your ring finger or middle finger on the ring, elbows pointed down, so that way that bar is on our balance point like I talked about earlier. So that way you're in a strong, natural position to be able to press straight up, and then obviously completing a successful squat. All right guys, final thing here I want to show you guys is foot placement with the squat. So obviously we know how to approach the bar now, so we're going to go in, we're going to set up, okay? Lift off. Remember, we want to try to take 1, 2, possibly 3 steps, whatever you need, no more than 3. All right, now the biggest thing is here, I'm a narrow stance squatter, so I'm about slightly outside of my shoulders here. Toes are slightly pointed out. You can see I'm not super over exaggerated or anything, but I'm also not coming in as if I had pigeon toes, okay? So we're slightly angled out. They could be perfectly straight. It depends on your ankle mobility and your knee and hip mobility personally. But you do want them slightly angled out. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pretend I'm turning my foot out. Now what that does is that engages my glutes. All right? So when I turn my feet out and I engage my glutes, they're flexed, they're good. That points my knees out a little bit. And then once again, I'm able to break my hips and descend down into a nice natural position and straight up. Okay? Now for some of you guys out there, maybe like I am a powerlifter, but some of you powerlifters do like to squat real wide. We take it out. Now with this rack, it's going to be a little bit more different. We don't have monolift, but this is probably about as wide as you're going to go. Now with this one, you don't necessarily have to turn your feet as much because this is more glute dominant. Okay? The biggest thing is pointing your knees out with this squat. Okay? So we want to point the knees out, go down as low as we can. I don't have the hip mobility to get quite as low, but come up from there. Okay? You want to make sure that the knees roll out real wide with that one. Now, if you guys are more on the bodybuilding side of things, you really want to attack the quad, I would say hip width apart, toes perfectly pointed forward. So when we drop, we're here and straight up. That's more quad dominant. And in that way, it's going to shape up your quads a little bit more if you guys are looking more for the bodybuilding side of things. All right, guys, now you're probably wondering how the squat is going to benefit you. And I think this is probably one of the best full body exercises you can do in the gym for any sport or anything that you do next to a deadlift. So obviously, this is going to help you guys opening up your hips, being mobile, being flexible, being strong. We need strong legs, especially if we're building that big upper body. We need something to carry them with, you know what I'm saying? But now, if you guys are looking more for the athletic side of things, I definitely say you want to do a high bar squat, okay, because it's going to be more core dominant, okay, but it's also going to be a lot of hip and quad, all right, and that's going to be within shoulder width or slightly outside of shoulder width stance. Now, a lot of you powerlifters out there, if you want to move the most weight humanly possible, a lot of you guys take it out a lot wider, so you shorten your range of motion. Now, that's going to take a little bit more hip mobility, but it's also more very glute dominant. Now, for you bodybuilders out there, like I said earlier, you guys want to go a little bit more narrow. You want to develop the quads a little bit, but you're also going to get the glutes and everything else involved too. And you don't need to do that much weight so that your core is not going to get super wide and super big and blocky like a power lifter, a strongman, or anyone playing football or any other sport is going to get. All right, guys, so I gave you the basic walkthrough here of the squat. We went over high bar positioning, low bar positioning, foot positioning, also how to warm up properly to approach your squat to make sure that you perform it safely and at your best effort. Now, if you guys have any other questions for me, you guys can give me a follow at Paul Yohman on my Instagram, at _basement gym Instagram. You can friend me on Facebook. Now I want you guys to go out there and put some mass on your ass.